Our conversation is now going to look at what's happened over the weekend, the politics of the weekend, right? So, coming towards the end of the week, Thursday, Catholic bishops did the thing. And then the same Thursday, government did the thing. And then come Saturday, they all met, government and bishops.
And they did the thing.
In Embu. They did the thing. Mm-hmm. Yesterday in church, again, politicians were doing the thing. Newly, freshly minted opposition leader, Rigathi Gachagua, said whatever he was saying. It's here. It's a headline in the Standard. Gachagua is asking, is life better now that I've been pitched?
Okay. Gachagua ndiye alikuwa anapandisha unga. Gachagua hayuko. Sasa.
Sasa. Aya. All those things that I said. The former opposition leader Raila Odinga, who's now he's no longer the party leader of ODM, actually. So he's asking questions about CDF. MPs have apparently formed a committee to protect CDF. All those things. That's what we want to have a conversation with Professor Gitile Naituli, who is an ex-commissioner of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. Prof, good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Good.
Very good. Karibu sana. It's good to have you here. And then we're also joined by lawyer Ochiel Dudley. He is a partner at Bond Advocates. Hey. Bond Advocates. Okay. Hey. Good morning.
Morning, Latiff.
Good to have you here as well.
Yeah.
Karibu sana. City will welcome you with the day's proverb. The last week he was in Kenya. This week he's moved into another country. City, where are we this week?
We are in the Republic of Burundi. Now, we are actually in the region of Sub-Saharan Africa, and we'll be here for quite a while. Okay, last week we visited the country of Kenya. This week we are visiting the proverbs in the country of Burundi. Now, the thing you need to know about Burundi, for the longest time it was a kingdom. And they had a king. But the thing about it is their process of multi-party democracy came with very many problems. It came with a 12-year war. It had been preceded by genocide, where community members of that particular country, very many people lost their lives. And the first leader they actually had after when they introduced multi-party democracy, that gentleman was assassinated 3 months after he had been sworn in. And that now led the country into a civil war. There's something about that region. We were in Congo last week, DRC, they had similar problems. And they lost very many people. Over 4 million people died. So the thing about colonialism and the legacy they leave, apparently when it comes to finding ways or finding our path, we will find that we've had problems in certain countries in this region where the people who bore the brunt of it were the citizenry.
Yeah.
Okay. You might want to know who the president of that particular country
is.
Of
Burundi?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so I will tell you. He's called Evariste Ndayishimiye. That is the president. Then he has a vice president. The vice president is called Prosper Bazombanza. That's his name. Then they have a prime...
Prosper Bazombanza.
Yes. Let me repeat it. I'm not making up the name. That's his name. Bazombanza.
Okay.
That is his name. Then they have a prime minister called... This name, I am probably going to massacre it, but let me just say it. Gervais, Gervais, Ndirakumbuka. Okay? Now...
Akumbuki.
Tukimkumbusha atakumbuka. Theirs is what you call a unitary dominant party presidential republic.
Okay.
Now the proverb. According to the cow, God has a wet nose.
According to the cow, God has a wet nose. Prof, what's your interpretation?
That's an interesting one. According to the cow. I think that's a really good one. Except it's very hard to figure out what he's really saying here. According to the cow, God has a wet
nose.
Now, when you are trying to interpret a proverb, you have to look the lesson in the proverb. And it's hard to figure out that lesson if you don't know the circumstances under which the proverb emerges. So that proverb emerges in an interesting situation there in Burundi, Rwanda. It's the same thing, what he went through, why that place is unstable. It's the instability in Burundi and Rwanda is different from the instability in the Congo. The Congo is about the Mzungu trying to extract the resources there, so they must keep those people busy fighting. Now, these other fellows they fell into when the Mzungu came, the kingdom was basically Tutsi-dominated kingdom, both Rwanda and Burundi. And then the Mzungu came trying to bring up the Hutus in order to divide that and rule. And so the Hutus eventually took power. They didn't take it nicely. So there was massacres on both sides. Now, when you look at that, you see usually cows are associated with a lot of peace. Because cows don't have a lot of issues with anyone. So if you look at the chaotic situation where they are, maybe they are talking about the peaceful coexistence. But according to the cow, God has a wet nose.
meaning God is like them.
Meaning God is like the cow. Yeah. They are talking about peace. Because they really need it in that region. It's been extremely destabilized.
You've really tried this one, Prof.
Yeah.
Amechambua historia.
Wakili, what do you think?
I'll go by his take. Maybe the cow thinks God is like him. Because God says, made in my image. So according to the cow, God has a wet nose like the cow has.
The Dudley knows cows that read the Bible.
The worship.
Yes.
Worship. What do you think the Burundians are saying? The proverb is saying?
I'm not so sure. Perhaps I'll go by Prof's interpretation of that one. Yeah.
That there is war and so there is peace. And this proverb,
it's a hard one.
No, it's a hard one. But when you look at it, anything related to the cow, not just from the perspective of us, the pastoralists.
Yes.
Like the Maasai, even in India, the cow is the highest level of evolution. You see, if you look at the Bhagavad Gita, the Indian religious text,
yes,
it's about people evolving to higher levels of consciousness. So there are several of them. There is God consciousness, there is unity consciousness, there is cosmic consciousness. So, and that evolution creates a complete person, eventually a godly person. The cow is the highest expression of the level of development in existence. It's very peaceful. I mean, maybe they're the ones they train to fight and so on, the bulls and all that. But basically, the cow is the real expression of peace and therefore the real expression of God. So,
Prof, from just looking at the last 1 week,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Let's just say the last 10 days in the country, and what has been said. So we have, on the same day, for example, on Thursday, the Catholic bishops issue a statement in which they list a number of issues that they say that these issues require serious conversations. As that is going on, President Ruto is chairing a cabinet meeting. And in that cabinet meeting, they're looking at statistics and data from government agencies. And those statistics are actually showing things are looking much better. Inflation has gone back to 2008. If you look at the kind of harvest that we've had in the country, our silos are full. In fact, our sugar right now, we don't need to import sugar. We
for
have
the first time in a long time.
Yeah. If you look at our interest rates are coming down, our currency has stabilized, and so on and so forth. We have rolled out, according to the government, successfully, just save for a few hitches here and there, a very new, robust and equitable system of treating the people. That's one. And then the Catholic Church is saying the other thing. And there was an issue there. What do you read of that?
Well, first, you just wonder what the kind of economy surrounding the president.
Why?
Because, you see, inflation can go down simply because you don't have money to spend. You don't have money to buy those things, so they continue piling up both in the shamba, they continue piling up in the store. You see, if you, for example, let's say take the unga or the sugar you said, so it was 200 shillings. Before, now it's 100. So what is happening is nobody has even that 100 to buy that sugar.
Is that what's happening?
Okay, the economy, of course, that's what's happening. You know, if you want to know whether there's economy.
So what are they eating?
No, people are, you see, when you are not, it doesn't mean totally you are starving. It simply means you have restricted your consumption. Okay? Because the how to look doesn't look very good. I'm not sure if you need to get out of this room to know that the economy isn't good. I used to come here, and this place was full of workers. Every desk here was occupied. I'm now finding 5 people. I mean, this is a very good example. So you go to, there's this road where they buy used car parts. You never used to find where to put your car. Now you can literally park it anywhere, and you will see it even if you are 1 kilometer, because there's no vehicles parked there. So the economic activity is extremely low, and if it is low, then things cannot be that rosy. So it is better than get honesty with the people, because honesty is a value that we are trying to undermine, that we are undermining. That's why you see even the response to the Catholics was fairly violent in the beginning. I mean, there was 7 responses in different ministries, meaning that not just that we're establishing a culture which they were objecting to, culture of lie, but we are also establishing a culture of refusal to accept feedback. Okay, because feedback is crucial. You see, the public is the mirror through which the leaders reflect themselves. So the church, because it's the alternative leadership, is a perfect mirror now to give that feedback. But when that feedback is not appreciated, it means we are not learning. We need to appreciate the feedback from the church. Okay. But one caution, though, I wouldn't give them, is that the church was there before the state. You see, before the state came into existence, the church existed before. So you can't go against the church, you won't win, because it's older. It has more accumulated knowledge over the years, and then it carries the moral authority, especially the Catholic Church. There's different types of churches you have to understand. In Kenya, there is the charismatic churches, which are really businesses. They are not existing for spiritual.
Pause. You need to correct that statement. If you say charismatic churches are businesses, there may be some that could be labeled as businesses, but to say they are all businesses, that may not be accurate.
Yeah, a lot of them. That's why the other day, I mean, the government wanted to tax them. We just had the president developed a gold defeat, and they within reimbursed and put it. It was there for taxing them because they are really businesses. I mean, this is the honest thing we need to address ourselves to. I think some of them are even called them kiosk. One of them, was it Nganga or somebody? Pastor Nganga said, I will close those kiosks because of I don't know what problem he was having with them. So most of those charismatic churches are businesses.
What makes them a business?
What makes them a business is how they operate. Okay? You see, if you take the Catholic Church, for example, or the mainstream churches, if you want, those churches, they basically operate like a government. They have schools, they have hospitals, okay? They offer services that couldn't be offered by the state. Now, the other churches, what they have is very nice buildings. And they also, the one mainly used by the politicians for the purposes of accessing power. Because, the poorer people are also the more faithful they become to the priests or the pastors or the bishops. They call them bishops and all those kind of names. Now, those charismatic fellows are actually a danger to Kenya. If you ask me.
We will have that discussion at a later date. Dudley, you want to say something?
Yeah, before we move too far away from the church as a moral compass, about 2 months ago, the Chief Justice Mutunga was to appear at Kabarak with someone called Justus Mutuku for a discussion on the role of church and politics in Kenya. And I wondered on my ex whether the church had become a peeping Tom, looking at happenings through a keyhole in the wall, as someone called Arthur Koestler said. Arthur Koestler was one of those absurdists. We heard about the absurdists recently when Gachagua told Parliament that it had become the theatre of the absurd. The right of Bennett, Kina Bennett, the ones who said waiting for Godot. And now, I think that the church has shown that it's not really a peeping Tom. It's just been observing, and now its patience has run out. It's gone out of patience. And Prof. Naituli is right that the church can tell what's happening. Why? Because, for example, these churches run a lot of mission hospitals. I was born in one myself, not run by the Catholic Church, but by a different church, and went to one my entire life growing up in the place where I grew up. And so these churches know when she is not working. They know when the sham is shamming. They know when children are not accessing education. Why? Because they conduct fundraisers for these children, because the churches themselves run a lot of schools, and they know when things are not going the right way. Maybe that's why the government got so alarmed, and we saw the flurry of statements. I think the government ilikuwa imekuwa kadi. It was ready to move the narrative. Yes. And then the church comes and says, no. We need to stop this culture of lies that you are selling to the people. Things are hard on the ground. We are burying the people who die from this scam weekly. We can see the way our hospitals are because of this issue of shift sham and that kind of thing. And so the church knows what's happening, and it's the pulse. And I think that the Ruto, for example, knows the power of the church, is ridden on it to power, and is now gone back to a strategy that he loves so much, the strategy of co-option. The church speaks on Thursday, and on Saturday, was it Saturday?
On Friday.
On Friday.
He's at a graduation.
Yes.
At Tangaza University, which is run by
the Catholic Church.
All right. On Saturday, he's in Embu for the consecration of a bishop who is
a Catholic
bishop. On Sunday, he is in church at a Catholic church.
Kayole. and just a moment, while he's there,
right,
in Kayole, he does something he loves. 5 million, or was it 3 million?
He donated
for the father's house,
and the church accepted.
And then he gives 300 for building, I think, a children's home that the church runs, co-option. And I was at a media station about a week ago, and I said that maybe that is what had happened. The church had been co-opted, because co-option is a strategy that Ruto loves and he thrives on. A week after elections, he buys majority by incorporating the members of UDM who had belonged to Azimio. That's how he gets majority in the Houses of Parliament, and which he has used to pass some of the unpopular policies. So co-option. And I wonder if the church is going to return this 3 million envelope. Would you return it if it were you, Latiff?
They took it. They would have said no to it yesterday.
Yeah.
Right there on the spot.
For me, the president's friends is actually the church, which is telling him his blind corner, which is telling him what he is not seeing. His friends are not those people lambasting the church. His friends is not himself if he can't see the advice the church is giving. Because what happens is that, you see, the church lives with us. My friend is saying here, the people who can't get the dialysis, the church is burying them on a daily basis. The children who can't go to school, the church knows that. The families that are not able to feed themselves because of the economic downturn, the church knows that, because the church lives in the villages. So the president should have been extremely happy about the statement, should have grabbed it and correct extent the things that they pointed out.
Do you think he grabbed it? Do you think
I think
look at how he forget about the immediate Thursday response by the various ministries.
Yes.
Let's look at the president himself. When he appeared at the Tangaza University, Tangaza College graduation, how he spoke. He said, as you are correcting me, just also be cautious not to go and give false reports.
No, it's
as you may fall, into that same category that you're accusing me of falling in. All right?
Yeah.
And then on Saturday, he says, I received this message from the church. So we have this understanding, and maybe I'll finish the week with by going to, again, church so that we can have a conversation. The president, did not blow up this whole issue. He said, yeah, we hear you. But at the same time, we were seeking to explain, saying this is what we've done on health, this is what we've done on housing, this is what we are doing on education, this and the other. The matters that the church was raising, he was attempting to respond in that crowd. So, like Dudley saying, he's getting in there and, being very nice and jovial. And I hear what you're saying.
Let me tell you this. Whatever you have done something successfully, you have absolutely no need to explain it. It will explain itself. Every time you feel that you have to explain something, know that you have not done it properly. It's not successful. Okay? So, I think I listened to him in Tangaza. At the Tangaza, he had not really gotten the message, but I think he later did. Because at Tangaza, he also accused them of not
being factual.
Proper education even. And the most educated Kenyans we have is those Catholic fellows. They are extremely educated. They go to school properly. You see, for them, what they do is a calling. You take like Muheria, for example. He has a degree in structural engineering from University of Nairobi, so he's just not a priest, but he's a thoroughly educated Kenyan. But because they have a special calling, then they become clergy. Now, if you try now to think, that's what I'm saying, it's very hard to compare the charismatic churches with the established one. Is the charismatic ones usually education is shallow. Okay, these are just very nice, very clever Kenyans who designed that they can make a living by starting the church, and then they train themselves or they are trained somewhere. But the other fellows to qualify to preach the Methodist Church, the Catholic Church, you have to go to school properly, a proper school.
Prof, what I took exception to is not the reality of what you're saying, if we were to segment it, but a generalization. That is what I took exception to. Because some of these charismatic churches that you refer to have people who are just as educated as the ones you refer to.
Yeah, some of them.
And they're just as structured.
Yeah.
Then they're the briefcase.
That is why the government is calling for regulation.
Yes.
Because, you get some fellow like the Shakaola guy. How much education do you think that man has? What is his name? There's a man of the Shakaola.
It's called Mackenzie.
How much education do you think Mackenzie has? But he has followers, he has people. So you can go and get them. I know some of them, the bishops. I know a lot of, some of them are even governors, those fellows, because, you can get this power through the church. Because if you have several of them post, what you are correct. It's not all of them.
No, it is
but
not.
But the majority of them. That is why Rwanda.
A good number of them.
That is why Rwanda is insistent.
And if you say majority, Prof, I'm going to ask you to give figures.
Yes.
So let's say a good number of them are that way inclined.
That's good English.
Yes.
Our guest this morning, Ochiel Dudley is a lawyer, and Professor Gitile Naituli is a former commissioner with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. We're looking at the politics and governance in the country for the past 1 week. What do you think, Dudley, is the actual situation on the ground? Because when people heard the dispatch from the cabinet saying, we have the focus by government was to see how we can stabilize. And the government seemed to have been announcing, and remember, we are coming now into the week where the president is about to do what is constitutionally mandated to do, give a State of the Nation address to Parliament. That basically just tells us what the president is going to tell Parliament. that we have stabilized the economy. The shilling is now stable. The price of commodities has come down. We have had a bumper harvest because of the interventions by government of fertilizer at the farms. We now are looking at a situation where inflation has come down. We are looking at a situation where the bottom is now feeling the impact of a government that is working for them. Do you argue with any of those points?
Well, is it the alligator that they say if the alligator comes out of the water and tells you that the crocodile is unwell, how would you argue with the alligator who lives in the water?
Exactly.
And you don't? So for me, if I were to choose between the lying regime and the church, I would choose the church's position. We've just said that the church understands what's happening. The church is on the ground. The church feeds those who cannot feed themselves. When the flooding happened and people were left to their own devices, the church was out there running relief services in a small scale and doing humanitarian work. I believe what the church is saying, that people are having a difficult time. I believe what the church is saying, that they know families that are yet to find their loved ones. I believe what the church is saying too, that they know families whose people are still being abducted until now, until today, until this morning, last night. So I think the church is correct that things are tough and are yet to get better. I disbelieve the government propaganda machinery that things are better and have improved. Because
Are those two mutually exclusive?
I think
Is it possible that both of them are correct? That the church is correct in terms of the impact, right? But the government could also be correct in terms of the situation. Is it possible? Is it possible that the are we saying that the shilling is not 129? Are we saying that the price of maize flour has not dropped? You could argue that, yeah, it's because people don't have money, but has it dropped or not?
Latiff on maize flour.
Are we saying that we don't have X number of bags or 50 kilogram bags of maize in the granaries? Are we saying that we have not had a bumper sugar harvest? Are we disputing any of those things?
Well, there's a message they sent out of a Black November sale. Maize, I think the maize flour was going for 93 shillings in some supermarket somewhere. And they quickly posted it and said, oh, look, maize flour is now retailing at 93. And I saw KOT saying that, that's a Black November sale. That's an offer. That's what the correct price of maize flour. At least that I can speak to. But on the others, I choose to believe what the church is saying.
I tell you, if the economy is doing well, it's very easy to know. By the number of new businesses starting, by the number of people borrowing money from the banks, either to expand or to start enterprises. There are those the number of employment being created per month, because these are easy statistics to establish. So when the economy is stabilizing, it's very easy. Now, the dollar is not a good measure. I mean, the shilling being 129 is not a good measure of economic stabilization, because you see the dollar, the shilling, the strength of shilling is backed by the reserves, by the foreign currency reserves, because we don't use the gold standard, and that we hold. So when you borrow money and they come in the foreign reserve, like in dollars, and there is a certain level like threshold in terms of export-import cover. So if it moves from 6 months to 1 year because of borrowing the money, the shilling will definitely they will be strengthened. Yeah. Because there is sufficient foreign reserve. But that doesn't mean the shilling has actually stabilized, because eventually you will get that money out in order to pay those debts. So the microeconomic stability you want to seek is economic production. How much did we export? This is where you want to go and see whether we are moving or whether we are standing. How much do we export? How much do we manufacture?
How much do we earn?
Yes, how much have we earned? Okay, but you can't measure by the shilling being 129 because that's just temporary relief. It's going go back to where it was the moment you start hemorrhaging your money. So the economic expansion in generally can inform us that the economy is doing well. You see, there's one thing this government has not done. It has not created hope sufficient enough to move people into the direction of investing. Because you see, economy is built by a general belief that tomorrow will be better than today, so that I can remove the money which is somewhere in order to put it for production, to put it into production. You see what happened during the Kibaki era. Within 6 months, the interest rate had gone so low that with the 40,000 you could borrow money and start building a house, because you know that it's going to continue going down, that it will not destabilize. You can plan, you can predict and plan. So problem here is that no one can predict this because the tax regime itself is unpredictable. You see, you need to have a stable tax regime that is predictable. So what we have done here, we have increased the cost of doing business. So you can't tell me economy is doing well, but the 4 years he's firing what was that 400 or whatever people, and then so you can't tell me economy is doing well. When I drive in industry area, I see so much empty space when I used to see activities, full of activities. Okay, you can't say it's doing well, because when I go to neighbors, the lines you used to see in the weekend, they were long. Now you go and see 10, 20 people. So we need to see it. We don't want to be told. You see, this is the problem. You know, the interesting thing, I want you to go back to Kibaki days. Kibaki never explained a single thing that they have done this, but people saw it. So what we want is to see. And if I think the state and government thinks that they can convince us, we are not angry because we feel it. We feel we feel hungry because we have not eaten. That is not going to be possible. You see, there is something I think our leaders need to understand. There's a huge change. What is happening now and what happened in the 70s, 80s, and 90s is totally different. The information is available now to everyone. So it's actually not possible to mislead. But I think the collective consciousness of the public has gone higher than the consciousness of the leaders. So they are still not catching up with the public. The public, if you call it the collective consciousness, the collective intelligence. You see, there is what we call in governance, the unseen governor. That is the collective consciousness of individuals. Just like we say forest is made of single trees. So the national collective consciousness is made of consciousness of individuals. That has risen clearly, because now people know what they want. So you can't convince them that they have it, because they know they don't have it.
Actually, the people have gone a step further. You see, I am of the view that people have known what they want, but we have a culture where, one, we do not speak back to authority or those we consider to be in leadership, and for the longest time, now the difference we are speaking.
Exactly.
Yes. And the very thing that people have thought and felt is now being heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's being heard loudly. It was heard loudest from the 25th of June. Our children spoke loudly.
Yeah.
Now the church has spoken loudly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And speaking about speaking city, yesterday I think I saw David Lee saying the economy is doing well. It's doing well. It's strong. Like Latiff is saying, the economy is okay. And then, yes, the economic advisor to the president. And then I saw a KOT, and I think she's a journalist as well, Miss Beatrice Marshall, who is also a farmer, saying that, look here, things are tough. I've reduced my workers, my dairy farm workers, from 10 to 4. I've also from 4 to 1. I've fired 3 of them. I've left 1 on my farm. I've also reduced my cows to under 10. What does that mean? That means I buy less dairy meal, I buy less salt, and I use the services of a vet less, and things like that.
And also, there are not enough people to buy my milk.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
The milk I'm producing also obviously reduces.
Yes.
And then David Lee said, you're just a poor farmer. But then, how many of these poor farmers do we have around the country?
This is clever quips of David D's are going to catch up with him.
No, they will, because you see, any Kenyan, anybody who has taken economics 101, you know that the easiest way to figure out an economy that is picking up is to look at the tax regime. Because you see, economy is 2 sides. It's production and consumption. Without consumption, there is no production. And what does it mean? That means you must have sufficient disposable income in the population to be able to consume. Now, David D's advice to the president is tax after another tax. I don't know which school David D went, because you don't need to have gone to have a PhD in economics to know that when economy is in recession, because this one is not just in recession but stagflation, it's both inflation and stagnation, you need to lower taxes so that the people have money to consume. You also need to increase in government projects. Housing is one of them. That's one is a good one if it's done properly, because it will help put money in people's pocket if they're employed. Because you see, in government investment, there's something they call supply side economics, where in a recession, the government is starting building roads.
Essentially, the government pumps money into the economy.
Exactly.
That's what the government
They pump money into the economy,
yes,
so that now people can consume, and that can spur production.
Yes.
Okay? So, this in D economics, I think the president needs some other devices.
Dudley was saying something.
Yeah. So, and then every day you see someone saying, nimefikiwa in what way? No, my business is not booming. I've closed it down. Small businesses closing down all the time. When you look at Twitter, where Kenyans share every minute of their lives. So I don't think that the economy is doing better as the government wants to portray. I think that the government is upping its communication, trying to gain back the narrative from the church, from active citizens who are saying that things are on a downward spiral. And I think that the government does not care. I think it cares about winning the next elections, and that's what it's getting ready for. So some of these things we are seeing.
What makes you say they don't care?
They don't care.
Care about what?
Because David Ndie as well has also told you that we don't care about those people who will campaign for us. You remember when people were saying we can use the CS money to build schools, to build roads? He said that schools and roads will not campaign for us. This CS will campaign for us. So we are putting money on people who will campaign for us. That's a message of we do not.
That?
Yeah, he said
CAS.
He said it, right?
For the CAS?
Yes.
Okay.
He said that we need the CS to campaign for us. We don't need roads and schools to campaign for us. So I think that the government does not care.
I don't think these people guided the
Dr. Ndie doesn't rub you nicely, does he, Dudley?
But was it here where someone was saying that...
You know you can block him.
Block who?
For your own peace of mind. For mental health.
Yes. Because this one.
And I have no issue with him.
Whenever Ndie's comments appear on your timeline, you're like, here
This
we
someone
go again.
in the public policy space, if he communicates the mind of government, he's our economic advisor, senior economic advisor, so that the views he expresses are not his personal views, they're the views of the government. That's the government's stand on the economy. Poor farmers here and there, Anyway, I was saying that things are not better because if they were better, as Naituli says, you'd know. you can tell.
You can feel it.
You can feel it.
There's a narrative that you have alluded to right now, and that the advice the president gets, I hear it all the time. Every regime, there's always this narrative of people who advise the president. Who selects these advisors?
The president.
So,
Yes.
are you telling me he selects people when they're one thing, and then when they take the positions, they become another thing? Or is it that we didn't know what they were to begin with?
I think what's happened is the part of it is the culture we have developed of psychophancy. Trying to, when the president offers me an opportunity to advise him, then I try to see which direction is he thinking, so that I can advise him in that direction, because I don't expect him to accept an honest advice. Okay? Now that has sunk into our society, and it's not a good thing. What you need when you see the president is in charge of, it's a big thing. The country is big, so he has so many things in his mind. You have to be I wouldn't say even brave enough. Maybe courage is a better one to tell the president when something is not working and why it is not working. Okay, but because we assume the president will not accept the feedback,
so we don't give him
the
proper feedback.
But we don't give him proper feedback.
So very many presidents. We heard this of Uhuru as well. I don't have evidence to support it, but we hear
even
it.
Kibaki, people talked about the Mount Kenya mafia telling Kibaki the wrong thing.
We always hear it.
Well, yes, but there's a difference between Uhuru and Kibaki. Uhuru was not a performer. Let's just face it. Okay.
Yeah, those who would argue differently.
In fact, no, they're arguing differently when they compare now with what we have. But
that's the whole point. We are comparing Ruto with Kibaki. We always compare. In fact, the only reason why
aren't we comparing Ruto
Kibaki,
with Uhuru?
Huh? It's the same thing.
No,
it's just a continuation of the same thing.
You see what we're having is...
What's there to compare?
Exactly what we're having now is just jubilee.
It's like, how much damage did this person do within the first term? Okay, let's compare. How much damage has this person done?
Yes.
But we forget that governments are a continuum. You see, I am slow to blame the president, very slow. Why I'm slow to blame the president is because what Kibaki left is not what Uhuru left.
No.
As a government, Uhuru inherited something that functioned.
Yeah.
What he left was not functioning.
Exactly.
So, we could argue that President Ruto inherited something which was not functioning. Now, how much more he contributed to the dysfunctionality, now that's a different discussion. Okay? Now, as for advisors and people who are supposed to help the president think, I think the president is the one who guides people as to whether he will listen or not.
Exactly. I mean, now you have gotten back to what is really...
Yes.
That is absolutely
If there's a president who takes in advice, it is not difficult to tell.
Yeah.
Yes. There's when you're training managers, there's one thing we tell them. One trap to avoid when you are CEO. Avoid being the most intelligent person in that room.
Yes.
Okay? You simply avoid that. No, what does that mean? That means you need to get your advisors more clever than you. It also means you are the last person to speak on any issue. Okay? You allow them to tell you. And when they are finished, you may not even have to contribute that day. You go out there and check with some other people who are not in the kitchen, who are not feeling the heat.
Yeah.
And you ask them, what do you think about it? Now, when you are clear, is when now you can come and guide.
And guide and say what happens.
Yes, so what we have developed here, other than, I didn't work in the Kibaki era, but the way he surrounded himself with who says, anasema mahali kuna wasai kuharibiki jambo. He was able to remove the economy from a very bad situation and brought it quickly to something that now he could give to Uhuru Kenyatta. Okay? Now, where we are in negative growth when he gave back to get over. And that's why I'm saying that why Mount Kenya region, for example, basically injected Uhuru Kenyatta, because the Indians, was because when they expected him to do better than Kibaki. And that's why we have to stop hyping this idea of the youth. Kibaki himself called them the dynamic in duo. But that dynamic in duo demolished the Kibaki's economy in the Pacific.
Prof, time is up. Thank you very much for joining us, Professor Naituli, who is a former commissioner with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, Ochiel Dudley, who's an advocate. Asante Sana for joining us.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.